Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 69 of Parenting Autism, where we find joy in the journey of parenting autism. And you can find us on the web at www.parentingautismshow.com. You can reach us by email at parentingautism@att.net. We're also on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. You can find our YouTube channel, Parenting Autism. We have some videos on there that might be helpful.
So interesting, if I may chime in.
Yes.
I play Words with Friends on my phone. It's one of my relaxations. And someone that I randomly played a game with came in through a message and wanted to know if I was the same Parenting Autism on YouTube, because that's my handle on my Words with Friends. Mm-hmm. So I just went back and like, well, yes, I'm Bryce's mom. And then she came back and said, oh, I was thinking of a teenage girl. So there may be another YouTube Parenting Autism out there. I have no idea. I haven't looked, but I found that interesting.
Well, they can look for our logo. That's our profile picture on there.
Anyway,
so,
I think it's great that other people are out there sharing things.
Absolutely. We need to get the word out.
Yeah. So, by the way, I'm Sandy. Sorry, I interjected there before Chris introduced me. Hello, everyone.
Hello. So
I think you were wrapping up the intro there.
Yeah, we made some changes.
So last episode, we talked about the upcoming change of diet for the Colters. And we actually have several people reach out to us, and I know there's some interest out there as to what we're going to be doing, how we're going to be doing it, and how it's going to be going. And so we have made the transition since we recorded 2 weeks ago. We had 1 week since we last recorded that we just kind of were beginning to prepare. So we're preparing ourselves, and we were also preparing Bryce. We did a lot of verbal preparation, not so much social stories, because we really are able to reason with him more, and he doesn't need the visuals as much. Mm-hmm. But we started just really explaining to him that we were going to be changing the foods that he's eating because we want to help him not fall to the floor and hurt himself. And we also told him that we don't want the bumps on his face, which he doesn't either, and on his arms. Right. So he has been really responsive to it, and we told him it was going to be happening. And then we kind of gave him some closure with a couple of favorites, like his Circle Round crackers. He knew that was going to be the last of the Circle Round crackers. Pizza is a big one.
We are a pizza family.
We are, and we haven't attempted an alternative yet, but it's really gone well that we went a full week with no pizza. And he asked me one day, he looked at me with a little grin and said, "Can we have pizza?" And I said, "No, not yet. We haven't figured that one out. We're going to have," and I told him whatever we were having, and he went with it. Mm-hmm. So it really has been a really good launch into this. But we had made the agreement, okay, we're going to finish up some of the foods that we have, especially like stuff we had in the freezer that were leftovers that had been frozen, that sort of thing, whatever had been opened. And then we wouldn't bring anything else into the house that didn't meet the criteria. Mm-hmm. And so we've been good about that. And then we took some of the foods that we had that hadn't been opened and were not expired back to the grocery stores. Mm-hmm. So we have a couple of tips on that we've learned. So we shop at a few places, and we probably get the majority of our stuff from either Aldi's or the little Walmart. What do they call that?
Neighborhood market.
Thank you. The neighborhood market, where it's mostly foods. And then occasionally we will go to Publix if it's something that's a little more rare, or if they have a really great BOGO. That works for us. So I went to Aldi's, and if anybody has ever shopped at Aldi's, it's normally the lines are pretty long because they don't have that many people working the lines, even though they work them quickly. But I told you when I came home, it was as if God parted the Red Sea. I walked in, and I didn't want to go get in a line because I didn't have a receipt for the foods I was returning. So I went and stood by the cashier. There was only one person in line. She finished that person, and then I said, is this where I go for return? She's like, yes. And so I just explained that my son has autism. We had to do a radical change of his diet, and these were things he couldn't have. And she was so great about everything. She's like, oh, not a problem. She just starts scanning it, got everything through, gave me my card with credit on it, and then I looked up and there were at least 5 people in line. So I was like, it really timed out well for me. But it was an extremely easy process there, and I went right back through the store and got some things that we needed from their produce department, and that worked out really well.
Yeah.
So Publix, extremely easy as well. I think we did not. We had the receipt for one. We did not have a receipt for a couple of other things. It was quick. It was easy. They gave us the gift card, and we moved on. Walmart. So I went there with a big bag of stuff, and they told me that I had to have the original credit card that it was purchased with. So I did not have that with me because I'm not you, and you had done a lot of the grocery shopping. So I said, so I just need the card to put in the machine? And she said, yes. Okay. So I came home. I told you that. We went back together. And then the story got deeper. It was, no.
Yeah, we come up to the counter.
Yeah.
You're like, well, I'm back with my stuff, and I have the credit card. And the lady was like, and she was the same one that was there before. And she's like, oh, we got to call somebody.
Yeah. I think it freaked her out a little. So she's like, she's wanting to return all these things, and she doesn't have receipts.
And the manager said, okay.
I know. She was really chill about it. So it was like, okay. So the explanation is, and this is what you can check with your local Walmart, but she said the policy changed a year ago. And now if you don't have a receipt, you have to have the card it was purchased on. But not only that, it has to be within the past 90 days, which that was a totally new thing as well. So I knew right then, well, some of this stuff is going to be older than 90 days, like some
canned
pasta
goods.
boxes and canned goods, but whatever. That's fine. I knew there were some things that were recent. So we were able to get those. She had to do like 4 different transactions. So I just said to her, well, hopefully I'll be your most difficult customer of the day and everything else will be smooth from here. And then she just kind of shook her and said, no, this isn't a problem at all. I'm like, I'm thinking that it is from your vibe. But I think once I said that and pointed it out to her, she really did get chill. And then she even seemed a little caring about Bryce because she said, was that your son that was with your husband? I said, yes. She goes, and he can't eat all of this? I said, no. And I rattled off the 5 things he can't have. And she's like, he's not going to be able to eat anything. I said, well, he'll just be eating very healthy and natural. Yeah. I said, but that's why we have to return all of this. So I really appreciate you doing this for us. Oh, it's not a problem. Yeah. So anyway, I said I was going to share that with the listeners because that is good to know if you're going to go through some dramatic change. Check with your store policy.
And let's just do a little backstory about the 5 things and why we're removing those 5 things is a while ago, 2018 or 2019, we did a IgG, food sensitivity blood test on Bryce. And so depending on who you talk to, there's people will either agree that the IgG blood test is an indicator of food sensitivity, and then there's the other half that say, well, it's not a good indicator. So with our upcoming functional medicine doctor appointment in September, we're going to try to get to the bottom of that. But he did show sensitive to gluten mostly, soy, corn. We're not sure on casein because he wasn't tested on casein.
Right, he was only tested on dairy.
But he did not show for cow's milk, which was surprising because when he has cow's milk, he breaks out. So we know that's not good for him. And what was the other one?
Eggs.
Eggs, yes, eggs. So,
and gluten was like extreme. Like if you're supposed to be a 2, he was a 19. It was really extreme.
And from what I've read is, if you give them even the smallest amount of gluten, you might as well give them a cheeseburger because it's a lot. The body does the same thing. So So, and Sandy explained why we're doing this. He's not having bowel movements on a regular basis. He's breaking out on his face, his back of his arms. We have these behaviors. So we're recommitting to this diet, and we're hoping and praying for great results. And you and I have already seen results. I mean, we're phasing out the foods that we were eating and phasing in more healthier one ingredient type foods, and we've both lost weight.
Oh, I felt so much better this week.
Yeah, and
in fact,
so that was Alexa listening in on us. If you heard that.
So we had gone away from my birthday weekend. It was kind of like when we came back from that.
Oh,
hold on. There's Bryce.
The door.
Yes,
Come
sir.
in. Hello. Hi.
The song's back.
Oh, is the song
on? Are you ready
on?
to dance? Okay, well, we're going to break right here because Bryce wants to show us his dance routine for Blue's Clues.
Yes.
So we'll be right back.
Okay, so we're back. Bryce has a cute dance, and we just might share that on YouTube. It was so cute. I finally recorded
Yes.
it. So anyway, we're talking about, it was the birthday, and so we kind of were finishing up there, and I was really determined when we came back that I am so ready to eat healthy just for myself, because I've had all this reflux issues, and after having COVID, it really did a lot of damage to my esophagus with all the coughing and all of that. And so one of my friends from Our Lady's Bible Study, she had a little birthday game night. And so I was like, oh, man, she said she was going to be making cake. She didn't make cake, but then she made chocolate chip cookies. But you know what? I didn't even want them. She made a really great fruit salad, and that's what I nibbled on. And I was so happy that I was able to have an alternative, and I just haven't felt like I needed allergy medication this week. I haven't felt stuffy. My mind is more clear. My energy was better. Some of that I know is because I'm coming off of COVID and recovering, but now I know a lot of it contributes to what I've actually put into my body this week. So
yeah,
I'm encouraged, very encouraged. And with Bryce, I haven't seen the physical results yet with his skin, but he did have those crackers. I think it was like Thursday in the middle of the week. Yeah. So any progress we were making
in the cabinet,
we didn't get rid of them in time.
What are those doing there? I'm like, okay, you can have a half a stack, and then they're going.
Then you trash the rest.
And he said, and then that's all of them. I said, yep, that's all of them. And then we'll try different crackers.
But I think that gave him some closure, which may have been good for him. And then we asked him, well, what is it that you like about the crackers? And immediately he said the salt. And I said, okay. I said, is it because they're crunchy? He said, yes, the salt, and they're round. So I'm like, okay. Right. So we found different shaped crackers. So we got round, and then we were pointing it out, and here's triangle, and here's square, and he's buying into everything that we're trying with him.
So what we did was I went to Publix. And I went to Publix because I knew they would probably have the biggest variety of gluten-free, corn-free, dairy-free, blah, 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 free crackers. Yeah. And so I think I picked out about a half a dozen boxes of different crackers, and we're just trying them one by one. And he's already said he likes the first two boxes that we've tried. So we're excited about that. And we don't want crackers to be the norm because, they do have other ingredients. But, I mean, the ingredients really aren't that bad now that I think about it. They are ingredients that you can pronounce. They're just made out of, like, brown rice flour or tapioca flour, stuff that doesn't have gluten in it, obviously. But mostly what he's been eating, I've been making a food log for him. And he loves his grapefruit. So he's always loved grapefruit. And that's usually his breakfast is 2 grapefruits. So now we've also picked up oranges and bacon. So he likes bacon in the morning, even after he eats his grapefruit. And then for lunches, we've been doing like a pan-fried chicken breast in olive oil. So you just take a chicken breast, and we get the better chicken breast at the store right now, one that doesn't have the added hormones or antibiotics and all that stuff. It is a little more expensive, but it's going to be worth it to us. For the chicken breast, it's easy. You sprinkle whatever seasoning that you like on it. And I put it in a nonstick pan with a little bit of olive oil on medium-high heat. And I put the breast in once it's hot for 5 minutes on one side, and then I'll turn it over for 5 minutes on the other side, and it's usually lightly browned. If it's a really thick chicken breast, you can pound it thin so that it'll cook a little better. But Bryce really likes the chicken breast for lunch. And we've gotten some hot dogs without the nitrates and nitrites added to them, so the hot dogs are a little better. And
he doesn't eat it with bread or anything else.
No bread.
We've always kind of cut that out because we didn't want to give him the extra gluten if not needed. But you also made your French fries, which you shared on social media.
And I'll get to that in a second. But we roasted a chicken in the oven, which was delicious.
Yeah.
We had that in the freezer for a long time, and I was just scared to make it because I'm like, I don't even know how to make a whole chicken. But it's easy.
You nailed it. It was really good.
And it just involves a lot more cooking, and that's okay. You know, we're okay with that. So
yeah, but you made that meal, and then we had leftovers from it for a couple other meals. You know,
yeah.
So we didn't really cook every single night,
right?
And even the pasta with the tomato sauce, that was easy. And then you had leftovers, so today it was easy for me to just saute some zucchini and mushroom and onion and squash, and then I added that to the red sauce and have what's those noodles we get that.
It's like quinoa or brown rice.
Yeah.
They're spirals.
They're totally gluten-free, but they
gluten-free,
taste good, and you put it with the sauce and the veggies, and that
tastes
was
like
really
regular
good today.
pasta to me.
It is. And Bryce likes it.
Yeah. And you were also great about putting the fruit dish together in the refrigerator, so like it's ready at all times. We have
berries.
Blackberries, blueberries, and raspberries all in a dish, and if he needs a snack, he loves the blueberries, mostly, but occasionally he'll eat the raspberry or the blackberry. And I think last episode I mentioned that I introduced him to nuts. I may or may not have, but I introduced him to nuts, and he does like pistachios. He's allergic to peanuts, but he likes things like pistachios and things like that. So we're learning to work around this, and one of his favorite things was French fries, and I posted a picture of some French fries that we made, and a lot of people were asking about how I did it. So here's the scoop. Okay. You get russet potatoes, big ones, and you get yourself what's called a mandolin off of wherever, Amazon or wherever you shop. And you want a mandolin with the wavy blades. So if you just type in waffle fry mandolin, you should have some that come up. And basically, you wash and dry the potato. I leave the skin on because there's nutrients in the skin. And you slice with the mandolin, you go down once, and then you turn the potato 90 degrees, and you go down again. So like quarter turn down, quarter turn down. So like you're going the opposite direction almost each way. So that's what gets your holes in the grooves, is the waffle fry. So then you have to put the fries into a bowl of cold water, and you put that in the fridge for about an hour. And what that does is it removes the starch off of the potatoes. And I don't know what the thing is behind that, why we need to do that. I can't remember right off the top of my head, but so after an hour, you pull them out of the fridge and you put the fries into a colander. You rinse off any leftover starch on them, and then you can dry them either with a dry dish towel or paper towels, and then rinse out the bowl that you had them in, and then I put some avocado oil in there. And the reason I use avocado oil was A, I had it on hand. B, I know he's not allergic to it. And C, it has a high smoke point, so it can sustain high temperatures without smoking. So I put some in the bottom of the bowl, and then I put the fries back into the bowl, and I tossed them so that they're coated with the avocado oil. And then with our air fryer, now your air fryer may be different than our air fryer, but on our air fryer, I did 400 degrees for 7 minutes, and I didn't have to turn them over or anything. It circulates pretty well in there. And they came out perfect. Like when they come out sizzling, you dump them onto a plate, and then you immediately salt them we use the Himalayan pink salt. So, and they were delicious. I mean, I'm like, wow, okay, I can do this. And so I haven't gotten to the point where I'm freezing bags of them so I can just pull out a bag, but I'll get to that point. And then a few days later, I tried them in the oven for those of you that don't have an air fryer. And I put it on 400. And I used a cookie sheet pan with a rack on it. So like when you pull cookies out of the oven, you put them on a rack to cool. Well, I put that rack onto the sheet pan, and then I put the fries on top of the rack at 400. And I tried that for 10 minutes. They weren't done. I tried it for 20 minutes, and they started to get done. And I really wasn't as happy with that outcome as the air fryer. So I am going to be experimenting more with the oven simply because I can get more fries onto the rack in the oven than I can in our air fryer. So this week I'll be experimenting more with the oven, maybe at a higher temperature or broil. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but I'll figure it out.
That's good stuff.
So that's French fries.
Yep.
And we had.
Well, that's an important one.
It's an important one because, Bryce, he was a McDonald's fry kid. He liked McDonald's fries. And sometimes we would get them for him if we were out and he was hungry and we couldn't get home.
Anybody's fries, though. He liked Chick-fil-A's fries.
Right.
He liked Burger King fries. But McDonald's was a go-to.
Where I'm going with this is that you liked crinkle fries.
Yeah.
And I liked McDonald's fries too, but we all had waffle fries in common. We all loved the waffle fries that you would get at like Chick-fil-A. So that's what I wanted to duplicate. And these really came out good.
Excellent day.
Okay.
I think that's really where we're at on the diet part, but I wanted to talk about behaviors and where we've been on that, because I know when we share, it helps people either feel not alone or, they can relate, or hopefully, they can glean something from it. So when we talked last time, we were kind of on an upward ticking of a lot of behaviors. Almost every day I was having to write something down. Yeah. And we had mentioned that I had started recording stuff so that I could give it to our BCBA for his ABA therapy, because honestly, it was so much and so often I couldn't even keep up with putting it in my phone with the app that they gave me. It was too much. So I thought if I start putting it in a Word document, then I can share it with her. And then she's awesome, and she said she would enter all the information so that we have it in his plan, because it's important that we document all of this in order to keep his insurance to show that he still needs help. So she's a great partner for all that, which is one big reason why I'm so happy we kept ABA in place.
BCBA, yeah.
Before we had the debate that we were going to do it on our own, and then we realized we could keep ABA in place with the BCBA overseeing his case. Yeah. So that's the value there for sure. She says, as she's reading our notes, that we're really doing all of the right things. So while that's encouraging, we're still like, wow, this just really wasn't slowing down. I mean, it was like every day and sometimes twice a day that I was putting things in. So I printed it out because I just wanted to share some examples. And so this is the week before we changed everything, correct? Yep. So this will be on June 15th. And hold on, I got to get a drink of water.
Yeah. So one thing I will say is that the behaviors since we changed the diet have gone down, but we did implement another incentive for him not to do the behaviors. But I'll let you read the behaviors first.
So, right after we did the podcast, this is from recording. So we had mentioned, I believe, that Bryce plays Animal Crossing on his Nintendo Switch, and he plays that with his Auntie Sue in Maryland. And Animal Crossing is actually important to bring up if we're talking about our world, because there's a lot of things relating to Animal Crossing right now for Bryce. It is his top topic of conversation for anybody that he meets. And so he does play other games virtually. On his iPad. He does watch shows. He does play with us. He's not like on this 24/7. But he likes it every day. And we had also mentioned that we needed to do something about his OCD about the bells, because that was becoming more of a problem. And I remember us mentioning that on the last podcast. We're like, we're going to have to do something. So we kind of hit a tipping point. First, he saw that Auntie Sue was on the game and he wanted to play with her. And when he saw that she didn't play with him, then he got really upset and he started destroying all the flowers on his island. And so for me, I call that virtual property destruction, because it's his way of getting out his anger by really destroying something that is important to him, because he loves his game and he loves his island.
Well, that's what he did before. He deleted his whole character.
Well, that was the next thing.
Oh,
so that was the night before. Yeah. Yes. So first he started with, because we've been telling him here, don't drop this, don't do that.
Don't fall to the floor.
Physical things here. Don't fall to the floor. Don't hit yourself. Don't crash. So now he's found a way to virtually lash out his emotions, and that's not healthy either. So when you told me that he destroyed the flowers, I just said to him, Bryce, I've worked so hard with you to play your game and make your island beautiful. And, I did want him to feel like there was some type of sadness to it, because he did that. Thankfully, they grow back. But, anyway, he took it out on his game. Well, it was the next night that he missed the 8 o'clock bell at night. And he got so upset that he went and he removed himself as a user off of his Nintendo Switch, which in essence took him out of his game. So when I went in there, he had started over with this other character, and it was a big mess. And we spent over an hour on the phone with Nintendo trying to get this fixed, because he has spent 3.5 months working hard on this game, and he had just achieved a lot of things that were really important to him that I won't give you all the details and bore you with it, but it was a big deal. And it was a big deal to us that all this happened because he missed another darn bell, and we've really been working on that, and that was the problem.
And for those of you that don't know what a bell is, the hour, at the top of the hour, he loves clocks and chimes and bells. So on the top of every hour, that happens on his game. And for whatever reason, he was fixated on the 8 o'clock bell that particular day, and he missed it. And that's why he got so upset.
Yeah. And he has we've probably mentioned in the past that he likes the sound of bells. And in fact, we turned hours off in our house because it was so distracting for him, like going off every hour. And so... Anyway, so he missed that. So I knew then the Switch is going to have to go on vacation, because we have to separate him from this desire and obsession to be able to hear the bell every hour. And it was like not just 8 o'clock. He would be like, what time is it? Oh, we have to get home. Or, oh, we have to do this because the bell's going to go off. It was like building. And then it builds up to the point that he, I thought he completely ruined all that he had accomplished with the island. So anyway, it was kind of traumatic for us, just the whole ordeal. And of course he was upset and he was trying to figure all that out. And so we just told him that it was going on vacation, that it had left, and we would see if it was all better when it came back. But he went the whole next day without it. He didn't ask for it. He was concerned, but he knew it was coming back the following day. And I really wasn't sure how to bring it back. What should we go? I was even contemplating writing a letter from one of the characters on the island who he kind of sees as like a Santa Claus to him. That's important. But we really didn't have to do that. I think the day away helped a lot. And then a lot of the talking that we did helped a lot. And then when we did bring it back, we just really tried to tell him, it's okay if you miss a bell. It is okay. There's another one that will follow. And if we miss that one, there's something else. I'm going to stay on the bell path for right now. So we took him to the Bach Tower Gardens right after this happened. In fact, it was that last weekend. And they had beautiful chimes there, and they actually played them live inside, which he had seen on a video. It was so calming for him. I mean, there's some positive to this, that he loves hearing the sound of the bells. And they had a 30-minute concert from 3 to 3:30 p.m., and he just sat there the whole time, and he loved it. He truly loved it. So I don't want to say that this is a bad thing for him. It's the obsession of, that his world evolves around that time. So then fast forward to this week while we were having dinner, and his cousin Storm was here as well having dinner with us. And it was almost 7 o'clock. And he's like, oh, it's almost 7 o'clock. We have to watch the bell. So I just kind of held him gently, and I said, no, we're going to finish our dinner. And there will be another bell after this, but it's almost 7. I said, it is almost 7, but you can do this. We're not going to go get the switch. We're not going to listen to the bell. We're going to finish our dinner, and it's okay. You do not need to. When I was holding him, you couldn't feel it, but he was literally twitching and jerking because he had such a strong urge to go and get that so that he could watch and listen to that bell. And holding him and helping him through that, it's almost like an addiction, you know what I mean? Helping him through that to where he calmed when it was after 7. He knew it was done. There was no scene. He didn't drop. He didn't melt. And he probably did hear the 8 o'clock bell. I just remember that being such a poignant moment that I was like, wow, I have to really physically hold him and help him not go and get that so that he could hear that bell. Mm-hmm. So to me, that was the sign wow, we've really got to create some separation here.
It's one of them routines that he developed himself,
strong.
That you have to break.
Exactly. So it's and that's it. It's
not
that
healthy.
Whole routine thing.
But the good news is it was either that day or the next day. He went the entire day without hurting himself or falling to the floor.
Yeah, and it was after we came back.
I just praised him. I'm like, Bryce, you did such an incredible job today. I am going to give you $1 because you didn't hurt yourself today and you didn't fall to the floor. And he's like, wow, that would be amazing or something like that, And so I gave him $1. And then we went to the next day and same thing, no behaviors. And I was praising him throughout the day because there were situations that he would normally fall or hurt himself that occurred, and he didn't do it. So at the end of the day, he's like, do I get $1 today? I said, well, you have to wait until the end of the day. And if you've done good, then I'll give you $1. So that worked for a few days.
3 days.
And then this morning, we just had a situation that...
We did. I was going to lead back into that. Yeah. And I just want to step back one because this was good and your incentive was great. I think right before the 3 days of no recording behavior issues, which was such a relief after weeks, 3 weeks of doing it every day. Probably the most significant thing that happened this past week to me, forget the virtual stuff. This was where he actually banged his head on the, what did he bang it on in the shower? The shower
handle,
right? because he was frustrated he couldn't get the loofah hooked back up. And you heard it, and then you asked him what the sound was, and then he actually showed you how he banged it.
He told me he hit his head on the shower lever thing, and then he proceeded to hit himself in the face with his hand to demonstrate, 1, 2, 3, himself. Like bang, bang, bang. I'm like, oh, Bryce.
I know. So, that's the part that really scares me, because this is going to escalate to something where he's going to unintentionally really hurt himself. I mean, we have found bruises on him, and I don't want him to injure his face or crack his head. So anyway, that happened earlier this week, and I was trying to figure out, are there patterns here? Is it late at night when he's just tired? But no, that was in the morning. It can happen in the afternoon. It doesn't matter where he is. And then he stayed the night with my parents, and he didn't do anything major, but he still had one thing where he was upset where Mom wouldn't go watch the washer with him when he asked her to, because he still loves to watch the laundry spin. And so then he turned her dining room chair over onto the floor. And he didn't try to break it, but still it was like light property destruction to try to get her attention, And I told her, I know that doesn't seem like a big deal because it's not like he took a hammer to it and he's trying to break it. But if we don't nip this while it's small, it will get big because he'll go to more extremes to get the attention that he's seeking.
Yeah.
So I wrote here that before you even offered him the $1, when it seemed to be a turning point, you said to him on Thursday, because he made a mistake. It was on Wednesday. He was frustrated that he wasn't answering the answers correctly in school, so he threw the mouse. And so you told him the right thing to do is to use his words, and then you said, repeat after me. When I'm frustrated, I will ask for help. And then after he repeated it, he hit himself in the head 2 times, and he said he was going to start to cry. Well, I think by you coaching him and telling him what to do, he's just so frustrated he didn't know what to do. So the next day, when he made a mistake, he said to you, I will not hurt myself.
Right.
So the day before, when he was frustrated, he threw the mouse.
Today, Daddy.
Yeah, and that was before you offered him any money.
Yeah.
It was like he was really trying.
Yeah.
And we've been telling him we're changing your food so you don't hurt yourself. We even said to him, I'd seen something on TV, kids say the darndest thing, and they were asking kids, what's your strength and what's your weakness kind of thing. So we asked Bryce, so what are you good at? And he said, catching sea creatures, which is part of Animal Crossing. I said, oh, okay. What are you bad at? And he said, falling to the floor. So I think in his mind, he was just saying that that's something bad that he does. And then he goes, and it hurts. The gravity makes me do it.
He wants to get better.
Right.
He doesn't want to do it, but his body forces himself to do it. I can't.
Sometimes
something out of Ghostbusters.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, we're trying to give him the help that he needs so that he has more self-control because he wants it. Yes. He really, really does.
But we had a meltdown this morning.
Oh, this morning.
That was
the longest one we've had in a long time.
Right. But that was a different issue, though, because it was a control issue.
I agree. So
we were trying to get ready for church, and he got up out of bed, and he went over to get his Switch, and I said, okay, buddy. I said, we're going to get ready for church. I'm going to take a shower, and then you're going to take a shower. So I took my shower. I came out. He's playing on that, and I said, okay, we're gonna go shower now. And he's like, well, I have to check my loan balance. I said, okay. And I sat down next to him because I wanted to make sure he was going to check his loan balance.
Yeah.
And so he was going through this stuff, and I was like, okay, this is not working. So I'm going to set a timer. So I asked Google to set a 1-minute timer. Okay. And then the 1-minute timer went off, and he's like, I just have to check my mail. And he wasn't checking his mail. Like, he just was stalling for more time.
Right.
And I'm like, no. I said, now Daddy's getting mad. I said,
this is when I came in the room.
I am getting mad now, Bryce. And I wanted to try that angle on him because I had not tried that previously.
No, you haven't.
And so I
your
wanted
emotions.
to experiment to see if it would make a difference if he knew how I felt and I was verbalizing without raising my voice. So I repeated it 3 times in succession, and I got a little louder at the end, but it still had no effect. And then
It did not at all. It did not faze him.
Our angel, Sandy, came in to rescue because I didn't know what to do. I had to tap out. So I tapped.
It was bad. I could hear that going on because
Yeah.
I was in the other room getting ready. And, Bryce was pushing your buttons by trying to stall, like any kid would.
Yeah,
really.
and so I tried to take it from him, and then he thought
And
it was
then
a
I heard
game.
you saying, I'm
and
getting
like,
right,
yeah,
exactly.
no,
So you
it's
took
not
it
working.
away at that point. Okay. So then he was upset and he dropped to the floor. Okay. And then you said, well, you're not going to get your $1 today. And
Yeah.
again, this is in the morning, so he's really upset. And we have to stick with that. And he's
We
not going
have
to get
to.
$1
Nope.
for that today. So I said, yeah, I'm sorry, buddy. You dropped to the floor, so you can't. But Miss Debbie's waiting for you at church. I'm trying to get him going.
Mm-hmm.
He had to go to the bathroom, which was a good thing. So I was able to remove him from the living room to the bathroom because he actually needed to go potty. So I got him to that point. I had the shower water going, but he just kept going. It's going to be a terrible day.
Oh, it was bad.
It's no money. Just take all my $. I'll never have $. again. The whole drama.
Self-punishment. Yeah.
Exactly. And then he went to, I need to check my mail, which was the last thing he was telling you.
Right.
I need to check my mail. And you're like, you already checked your mail. No, there's more letters. I have to check my mail. So that was his sticking point.
He said, if I don't check my mail, they'll disappear. And I'm like, no.
That was the last
they
thing. And you're
won't.
like, no.
Yeah.
So he's sticking with that at being the issue, the mail. So I'm like, well, okay, then I'll play along to that. And I said, okay, listen, you can check your mail after you take your shower.
Mm-hmm.
But I need to check my mail. I said, yes, you can check your mail after you take your shower. Now we need to get your clothes off. We need to take your shower. I need to check my mail. It'll all be gone. I said, and what did I say? You can check your mail after.
You said, what did I say? And he says, I need to check my mail because blah, 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 blah. No,
Yeah.
you said, no.
did.
When did I tell you could check your mail? But I have to check my mail. And this went on 2,
Probably
3,
about,
4
at least
times.
4 or 5 times.
And
And then so I knew
finally-
at that point, because you were behind me, and I just kind of looked up at you and said, I got this. Because
Yeah.
I knew you were wanting to come in and threaten to take it on vacation or something. And I knew it. And I thought, if we go negative here, it's just going to be a sucky day.
I had one ace in my pocket that
I know.
I typed out in my phone on the notepad that a note from Nintendo Switch that it was going to go on vacation because the Switch knew that he was not listening to Mommy and
Yeah.
Daddy. So that was my...
Right.
If all else fails, I was going to show him that note that I received from his Switch. But
Yeah.
we never got to that point, thankfully.
We didn't. So I was like, kind of, and he goes, and then, you were like, okay, it's all yours, which I appreciated because I felt like I kind of knew where it was going.
Mm-hmm.
So when he wouldn't repeat back to me what I had said, I thought, I can't get him on board because he won't repeat it, right? He was being that stubborn.
Yeah.
So I said, no, when did Bryce look at me? Come on, buddy, look at me. When did I say? I did say that you could get your mail, but when do you get to get your mail? When did I say? So finally, I answered it for him. I said, you can get your mail after you shower. Now, if you want me to help you shower, which normally I will not, but I thought that's not the issue here.
Mm-hmm.
I will help you shower. We can do it in 3 minutes. We can do it in 5 minutes. We can get you dry, and then you can go and you can check your mail. So there's a lot of tears going, and he says, I'm so sad. It's going to be an awful day, Mommy. The day is not perfect.
And it's
I'm
so
like,
heartbreaking
I know,
because
buddy.
I felt like he was on the edge of just being overwhelmed with input.
He was just, it was a true
was like,
meltdown bad
my
for him.
goodness, this really could go bad for the whole day.
Yeah.
But thankfully,
That's why I knew he was fragile.
Yes.
You know, it was
That's
like
a good word.
we were at a different place that we haven't been in a while. So thank God, he started to get ready for that. I said, okay. And then I said, okay, well, I'm going to leave the room and you tell me when you're ready for me to help you. He goes, Mommy, you help me? I said, yeah, I'll help you now. Come on, let's do it. A couple of more things. We got him under. Oh, yeah, you did it. Okay. And I just cheered him through it, got him in there.
Yep.
Got him washed. We did his hair. And when he came out, he said he was cold. I said, well, let's put the towel. Do you want to dry off or do you want to go check your mail? I need to dry. Okay, good. Then we can go check your mail. So all that. And then we come in here and I said, you might want to get dressed if you're cold and then check your mail. All right. So I got him dressed. While we're doing that, he said, I have to check my mail because my mailbox will get rusty and then I have to get a new one. I said, I don't think that's going to happen, buddy. It's just a couple hours. It was just not even an hour.
Right.
He goes, well, someone will steal my mail. And I said, seriously. So I said, okay, Bryce, I want you to listen to me. I said, we go on vacation, right? Like we just went away last weekend to Tampa. Yes. I said, okay. And guess what? The mail person came in, they put mail in our box, right? Yes, I said, and we weren't here for how many days? 3. Okay. And when we came back, our mailbox was okay and nobody stole it. And it's against the law. The police would get them if they did. So your mail will be okay on your island if you go take a shower. You could go 2 days and you'll be okay. Do you understand that? He didn't say anything. I think he processed that. Then I went back out there and you said he was on the game and he didn't even check his mail. Yeah. So then I told you, I think maybe it was the control thing, that he really just wanted to keep control of the situation. And then it spiraled out. But initially, that's what it was. I want to do what I want to do. I don't want to do what you want me to do. I want to stay in control. And when I tried to get him on board with me, he didn't want to give up that control. But we got through it.
And it was a complete turnaround.
Oh, today's been wonderful.
It's just, there was no mention of it ever again.
Well, okay. And so then he wanted to take his iPad in the car since we were putting the switch to charge. Mm-hmm. And so he goes, like if we put one electronic away, he goes right to the other. Yeah. So you're like, no, we're not taking that today. Why not? Why not? I want to play my iPad. I said, no, we're going to play a new game in the car. We're going to play How Many Red Cars Do We See on the Way to Church? Mm-hmm. He goes, I don't have that game in my closet. I said, no, I just made it up. We're going to have fun with it. And red's his favorite color. So we just started pointing out the cars, and then he got into it, and then we just counted the car. And it totally took his mind in a whole other place. Church today, thank God, they had this fun day planned we didn't even know about, and they had the bounce house slides, and they had Italian ice. And so he saw that in the parking lot.
Snow
He's like,
cones, whatever they were. Yeah,
snow cones. He says, I want that. What is that? So we're like, well, we'll go to church, and then afterwards we'll go out and we'll get that. He did all that. I was so happy after church to see him out there independently going into these bounce houses. And one of those slides was really tall. It was a big climb for him. And
he did it.
He did. And he was just having so much fun. And he didn't know a soul that was around, because it wasn't his friends that he knows from church weren't there. But he just went in. He did his thing. He patiently waited in line to get that snow cone, which normally is like, I don't like lines. But, if there's a snow cone on the end of it. But there was no complaints.
Nope.
He's just been happy all day, and we worked through it.
We did. We did. And
is it diet related? I don't know. Even Auntie Sue sent me a note, and she goes, he was really calm when I played with him tonight. Do you think the diet is working already?
Well, I had two or three other people comment on how much he was talking this week, but again, he was talking about his game, so
well, it was cute.
I don't know. But he was engaging with other people
more awareness.
Without prompting.
Yes.
Like he was seeking people out to tell them about his game.
Yeah. It was cute because you said to me, Bryce had 3 conversations today. And I said, he did? And you're like, yes. And I said, were all the conversations about Animal Crossing? You're like, well, they were, but he had 3. I'm like, well, we got to start somewhere. Yeah. But it is cute. Yeah. He's definitely become this child that Animal Crossing monopolizes his conversation. But you know what? He just wants to have a conversation with you, and that's what he wants to talk about. We picked him up from church, and they're like, okay, so we know that Thursday the new bug comes out that he gets to collect on Animal Crossing. I'm like, oh, yeah, he'll tell you all about it. But he also did his Bible verse, and he did the Bible story, and that's his world.
Yeah.
So that's what he wants to share right now, you know, his topic of conversation. So it's really cute.
Yeah. That's...
I guess the only other thing that's really happened this week, and I guess I'll go ahead and put that out there because I might not remember the next time, but we had Bryce's Cub Scout leader come over and play with him yesterday, and she gave him his pin for his 1 year pin, which was great. And we had to miss the last couple of events because of COVID.
Yeah.
So he didn't get to be a part of that. So we hadn't seen her in about a month. And so it was nice. She actually came where she could play a game with him, and we brought out the camp board game, and which I thought was perfect for Cub Scouts, and played that together. But it did come up in conversation about what we're deciding to do for Scouts next year. And so she just asked us, so what are you guys thinking about doing? And we haven't made the final decision, but all signs have kind of been pointing to maybe if we're going to continue to do Scouts, to do the special needs pack instead of the pack that we are in. And so, you know, she had her conversation with us, and she has been great with Bryce. We told her she is definitely the brightest spot of this year in Cub Scouts. She was great with Bryce. She
originally planned on moving up with him because her daughter is in that same level. But she's switching to a different part.
Well, they're
of
splitting the boys and the girls,
yeah.
and so she would not be his leader now.
Right.
So when we heard that, we kind of thought, oh, that's kind of affirmation that, okay, then maybe we're done. And then she had the conversation with us that I think gave us even more affirmation. But I want to share this because, you know, it's
a teaching.
It's our world and what we learn. So she just said, you know, what are you planning to do? And we're like, well, we're not sure. And then she goes, well, I just think that, you know, with Bryce, he might not be I think first she put it the other way. She said, you know, if he were to go to the Webelos, which is second grade, because he was like in the kindergarten group last year, and so he'll go into the quote unquote first grade Tigers. But if he went up with his true age group, she was saying, you know, that just really wouldn't work. And, you know, with the pack, they really don't want to have the kids that aren't, did she say emotionally or socially? But I want to say emotionally at the same level as the other kids. And then if we make an exception for one, then we might have to make an exception for others.
Right.
So I can read through those lines.
So this year they made an exception
for Bryce
to be in the Lions because he's 1 year older than the Lions, but he's on the same
development?
Maybe not developmental.
I don't know what you say, but
I don't know. But same level as the Lion kids.
Yeah, basically.
And so they made the exception. I had to write a letter, but they made the exception. So the way she was coming across was that, you know, maybe it wasn't such a, you know, it would inconvenience them or whatever to have Bryce back a year, you know, like it wasn't fair to the other kids or whatever. And she was steering us toward the special needs.
But then she said,
pack.
but I also don't think that he is a great fit for that pack number, which is the special needs, because, you know, there are kids in there that
aren't as far as long as Bryce is.
That's what she's trying to say. And I said, well, this is what we dealt with in school. We didn't want to put him in an autism unit because we didn't feel that was the right place for him. But he also couldn't streamline into a main classroom.
Mainstream, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, this has been our dilemma that we've dealt with Bryce in several situations, even in church, trying to figure out that placement. And with Bryce, as he gets older, I believe that his disability becomes more visible and less invisible, because now he is just going to sit there and talk to you about one main topic, you know,
he still
and
flaps,
he does has
you know,
his behaviors and all of that. And now he looks like a 7-year-old that's about to turn 8 years old.
Right. That should know how to have a regular conversation.
Yes. So now it's more visible, and it's going to become more visible with the children, not just adults, as he goes up in, you know, into these events and stuff. So it puts us in one of those positions that we have to make those decisions. And so she wanted to give me some lovingly criticism. And so, her loving criticism, and she was saying it from a place of love, was that, maybe that Bryce is capable of doing more than we think and allow him to do.
Right.
And that we keep him in a bubble. And so I really was trying to receive it without being defensive. And I was thinking of that particular incident where, he could have seriously gotten injured when I did leave him unprotected for 10, 15 minutes. And so you did bring it up, which I appreciated. And I said to her, I don't think you were aware of this, were you? And she said she wasn't. So we brought her up to speed that when we did leave him at a committee meeting with boys in the backyard, after having had a conversation about Bryce's autism and how to treat him and, all of that, someone still tried to get him to jump off of a very high clubhouse to the ground.
I think the reason why we had the conversation was because Bryce was in the other room with the boys, and one of the boys took his iPad and was playing with it kind of without Bryce's permission. And I think
you had that conversation. And then when we were out back playing with them, and one of them was mocking his flapping. And so then, and I saw the other one giggling and laughing and pointing. Yeah. So then I just explained, well, he's just really excited. And he shows his excitement in a way, maybe you clap and cheer. Bryce raises his hands and he jumps up and down. And, he's just happy to be here with you guys, but he's very intelligent. And he understands everything. He just communicates it in sometimes a way that's different than the way that your other friends communicate it to you. So, when the dare, in essence, came into play, like, he didn't say, I dare you to jump, but they tried to get him to, the other kid came in and said, you're right, he is smart, and I was like, what the heck happened? So after that, it did put me on the defense going to Scouts, not for the weekly
for
thing,
everybody
but around the kids.
That hasn't heard the episode about that incident. The kids were trying to get Bryce to jump off of this clubhouse or something, off the top of it, and where he would have landed, he would have been seriously injured.
He would have been very hurt.
So they were trying to get him to jump off, and Bryce thankfully had sense to think, he knew it was dangerous, and then he came in and he told you.
He must have got down. They got him down, and he came in and told me. So you wonder why I keep him in a bubble, And
we did hold these kids to a higher level.
Well, and I told her that, and she's like, "No, you shouldn't do that. They're just kids." And I'm like, right? "Well, then that's concerning to me, because I would expect that these kids are being taught these values,
and they are,
and that they are going to treat a child differently and not do what was done to him. I do expect
at
more.
Every meeting they go over, a scout is trustworthy, kind, reverent.
Yeah, Bryce knows
the
them
whole list goes down, and these kids were older and they knew better.
And I had higher expectations of them being able to accept Bryce and treat him better than that. But she said, no, you shouldn't do that.
So we had the conversation, and I just think that if we do continue Scouts, the special needs pack is a lot further away from us, but it's parents that understand where we're coming from, parents that are in our shoes, and kids that are in Bryce's shoes. I feel like it would be a safer environment, unfortunately. I have to say that.
I know.
That it's going to be a safer environment where he won't get bullied, that he won't get picked on, he won't get made fun of.
Like I told her, he's happy, and I don't want to see that change. And she's like, well, think of the good that came out of this. And she mentioned one specific boy that took to him. I said, well, yeah, because of what happened, because he was the one that was there that night with the whole incident. And she said, he took a real interest in him. I said, I know he did, because I had several conversations with him. And then she mentioned somebody else. And I said, you sound like one of his former BCBAs who said, I think it's great that you've got him in there, because these kids need to learn how to treat kids that are on the spectrum, right?
Right.
Which I'm all for that and giving Bryce opportunities, But as you said, we're not going to do that at Bryce's expense,
Right.
so that other people can learn lessons. And that's why I told her it can't be at Bryce's expense, because that's not fair to him.
Right.
And there are lots of kids that get forced into these kind of situations because they don't have a choice with school. They have to go and they get picked on, and then they lose that happiness and that joy.
Yes.
Bryce has it.
Yes.
I don't want to do anything that I am intentionally setting him up. I don't want to throw him into the lake to see if he can swim. That's
Right.
what I told her.
Right.
That's not it.
And that's it.
So that was a good conversation that we had.
For all of us. I think
all of us.
we all learned something in that conversation.
Yeah, it wasn't expected, but you know what? And then it kind of gave us our closure and our affirmation. And it is also just something to share on here, because these are the things that we encounter
Real life.
as parents.
Yep.
With kids on the spectrum that other parents just don't quite get, even if they have the best of intentions. So
Yeah. Yep.
anyway, but it's all good here.
Yeah.
I feel like we're on the right track in so many ways, and I'll be excited to continue to report how we're doing with the whole diet and Bryce's behaviors and all the summertime fun.
Yes. All right. Well, we can wrap with that. Episode 69.
Sounds good to me.
If you feel led, please give us a review online through whatever podcast channel you use.
Yeah, and one more thing.
Yep.
We did put out there that we're still doing the contest for the decals, and we had a few people that
that's
have
right.
written in and contacted us, and we've sent them in the mail. So
Yes.
we mentioned it in the last podcast episode, and if you guys do want a Parenting Autism podcast decal for your vehicle, just reach out to us and give us your info, and we'll be glad to send you one.
You got it. That's
All right.
it. That's
On
a
that
wrap.
note, have a great week. Thanks
ya.
for listening.
Bye.
Bye.